The sound of laughter echoed across the dusty schoolyard, but it wasn't the happy kind. It was sharp, cruel, and aimed at one little girl who stood clutching her worn-out lunchbox. 8-year-old Emma, the daughter of a struggling farm family, was no stranger to being mocked. Her clothes were secondhand, her shoes had holes in them, and her hands often carried the smell of earth and hay. She didn't care much for appearances. She cared about her animals, her mother, and the simple joys of farm life. But the kids at school didn't see that. They saw an easy target. "Farm girl, where's your cow?" One boy sneered, pushing her shoulder. Another grabbed her lunchbox and flung it onto the ground, spilling the sandwich her mother had carefully made with fresh bread. Emma bent down to pick it up, but before she could, one of the boys shoved her so hard that her head smacked against the gravel. For a moment, she saw stars. The laughter grew louder. They didn't stop. They circled her like vultures, hurling insults and stones of mockery. Emma didn't cry. Not then. She bit her lip, tasting the metallic tang of blood, and kept her eyes down. But inside, her small heart was breaking. She wondered why they hated her so much for being different, for living a life they couldn't understand. That evening, when her mother Sarah saw the bruise on Emma's forehead and the dried streaks of blood near her temple, something inside her tightened. Sarah was a gentle woman, known around town for her kindness. She worked long hours on the farm to keep food on the table after her husband had passed away years before. People admired her perseverance, but most didn't know her past. Before she became a quiet farmer, Sarah had been something else, something the bullies at school could never imagine. Emma finally broke down that night, whispering through tears, "Mama, why do they hate me? Why do they laugh at me for who I am?" Sarah hugged her tightly, her heart aching. "They laugh because they don't understand," she said softly. "But you, my girl, you're stronger than you know. You don't need to become like them. You just need to become more like yourself." The next day, the bullies came again, ready to torment Emma as usual. But this time, something was different. Sarah had come to school early, standing quietly at the edge of the yard. She watched as they pushed her daughter and yanked her braids. Then, when one boy raised his hand as if to hit Emma again, Sarah's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Enough." The children froze. Sarah walked forward, her eyes calm yet filled with an authority that none of them had ever seen. She didn't shout, but the weight of her words made their knees tremble. "Do you think you're strong because you hurt someone smaller? Do you think you're brave because you mock what you cannot understand?" The bullies lowered their heads, but Sarah wasn't finished. She knelt beside Emma, brushing dirt off her dress, then looked back at the children. "You should know something about the girl you mock. Her father was a soldier who gave his life protecting strangers he didn't even know. And Mia." She paused, her voice steady. "Before I became a farmer, I was a champion fighter. I've stood in arenas where men twice your size tried to break me, and I walked away stronger every time. Do you think a bruise on her head will ever make her weaker? You are mistaken." The bullies exchanged nervous glances. Whispers spread quickly. Emma's mom had been a fighter, a champion. Suddenly, their cruelty didn't feel so powerful anymore. But Sarah didn't end with threats. She looked each child in the eye and said, "Strength is not in hurting others. Strength is in protecting. You will learn that, or life will teach you the hard way." From that day on, something changed. The bullies no longer dared to touch Emma. Some avoided her out of fear, while others, shamed by Sarah's words, began to soften. One of the girls, who had once mocked Emma the loudest, approached her during recess a week later and quietly said, "I'm sorry." Emma, with her gentle heart, forgave. Slowly, she even found friends among those who once made her cry. The challenges didn't vanish overnight. Emma still faced whispers and sideways glances, and life on the farm was still hard. But she carried her mother's words in her heart. True strength is not in hurting, but in protecting. Every time she looked at the animals she cared for, or saw her mother working with calloused hands yet unwavering determination, she knew she was not weak. She was the daughter of a fighter, and she would grow into her own kind of strength. Years later, when Emma herself stood tall as a young woman, she often remembered that day. The day bullies smashed her head against the ground, thinking they had broken her. Instead, it became the day she discovered who she truly was and who her mother had always been. The message was clear and unforgettable. You never know who someone really is, or the strength they carry inside them. And sometimes the smallest, quietest soul can rise with the greatest courage.